and hopefully can assist to identify the cause.
Now, the term crime scene reconstruction, would it be fair to say that after looking at as much evidence as you can, crime scene reconstruction would involve trying to figure out what happened, how it happened, and the sequence of events?
Yes, in certain aspect, you're absolutely correct. Crime scene reconstruction just basically based on the physical evidence, result of study of physical evidence, analysis of physical evidence, and crime scene study. Try to put a piece of puzzle together to determine when did it happen, how did it happen, what did happen, where did it happen, so-called 6W. And of course, try to answer certain aspect of sequence of event.
Now, in this, are there degrees of reconstruction, complete versus partial and limited?
Yes.
Now, were you able to do a complete crime scene reconstruction in this case?
No.
Why not?
I cannot make a complete reconstruction for this
I'll
case.
check getting into anything beyond disqualifications at this point, Your Honor.
All right, actually, we're going to take a recess at this point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief recess at this time. Please remember all my admonitions to you. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes. All right, Dr. Lee, you can step down. Return in 15, please. Thank you. All parties are again present. The jury is not present. Counsel, in our discussions about the discovery issues earlier this afternoon, I was trying to rack my brain to recollect the occurrences during the 1054.7 hearing that Mr. Blasier reminds the court that we did conduct with regards to a substantial number of the issues here. I've just received from my court reporters a transcript of that proceeding, of one of those proceedings, and apparently my recollection is now refreshed that we had 3 such in-camera hearings within days of that particular hearing. I have not had the opportunity over the break to even, it's literally hot from the photocopier, so I have not had the opportunity to read this or refresh my recollection as to my discussions with Mr. Blasier with regards to this 1054.7. There are also 2 other transcripts that are being produced right now. So the problem I have is I'm not in a position to rule on discovery sanctions as to any of these items until I've had the opportunity to completely refresh my recollection by reading the transcript of the previous hearing.
There were also, the memo I referred to was also submitted to you at that time. I have it on my computer. I'll fax another copy to the court, but it should be in the file. I also submitted to you copies.
Well, here's the problem, counsel. It might have occurred to both parties here that I've been concentrating 100% of my efforts on another issue. So,
Sure.
But since we have this witness here, I'm now going to stop any work on Furman and turn all of my staff's attention to this issue, because I've got to go through now this stack of reports and correlate it with the in-camera offer, because quite frankly this happened in March and I have no independent recollection of what occurred then.
Sure. I just want to make sure that you were aware of everything that was submitted, because there's also copies of reports with excerpts that were turned over that were provided to you in sealed envelopes that you should have somewhere back there. So,
I know,
as well
I
as
have a
the memo.
package of all sorts of things. The problem is, the issue is when do I have the time to sit down and look at all this stuff? That's the issue. All right, Mr. Goldberg?
Your Honor, may I just inquire, we did not know about the in-camera hearing. At this point, can the people also have access to the transcript, since presumably if Mr. Blasier's representation is that the materials that were discussed herein were discussed then, I think that we would be entitled to it now since they've been disclosed to us anyway, if that is indeed the case.
You know, I don't know of any precedents regarding disclosure of 1054.7 hearings in the course of trial. Frankly, I've never heard of it. Doesn't say I won't do it, but I've just never heard of it. before. Of course, there are a lot of things I've never heard of before. So we're sort of at a dilemma here, counsel. I haven't had time to read this. It was just given to me.
I have two proposals, because I'm very
Mr.
eager
Scheck?
to pursue his,
And I'm proposing to quit at 5:30 today.
I understand, but
All right.
there are two areas that I'd like to get into that I'll just demonstrate what they are to the court. I've described them to Mr. Goldberg. He knows what this testimony is going to be from other sources anyhow.
No, I'm listening to Mr. Scheck, Mr. Cochran.
One issue that we wanted to go into was the next logical step, because we're talking about steps in forensic examination. Now, this will involve what was done at the crime scene here in terms of recognizing evidence,
All
some
right,
discussion of that.
I get the point.
Okay.
Let me ask Mr. Goldberg, do you have any objection to the basic discussion of criminalistics?
I told Mr. Scheck that if it was simply a generic discussion such as certain portions of the testimony that we heard yesterday, that I couldn't object on discovery grounds, but if he's going to then relate it back to the physical evidence in this case, and his examination of what he saw of that evidence and what he didn't see and what he looked for and so on and so forth, and what he saw in the photographs and the like, and correlate this to his investigation, or some larger issue, that does present the same discovery problem.
I mean, what we intend to get into is his assessment of what they looked for at the crime scene, what they preserved, how they documented, how they collected it, and how that affects the inability to do a complete reconstruction. So we are going to be talking about the facts of the case. We're very eager to talk about the facts of this case, but I can't...
Is this similar to what we heard from Mr. Regal yesterday?
Well, I think it's similar, but I think it's more pointed because it's going to be going into the specifics. Dr. Lee, as you can see, is going to be talking about nothing but evidence, physical evidence, and his assessment of it, and what we think are scientific facts and some matters of interpretation.
You
But
didn't
many
answer, but
scientific
my
facts.
question to you is, this is the same stuff that we heard from, isn't this chart exactly what we heard from Mr. Regal yesterday, only in different order?
Well, it's Dr. Lee's approach to it. It's similar. I'm not saying it isn't similar, but it's his approach. It's not that long. But it's what he needs to explain why he couldn't do a complete reconstruction, and to explain exactly what he could assess and what he couldn't assess, and what his problems are with the way they preserved, documented, and collected things, what
All right,
limitations
what's after
they
this?
placed. I'm sorry?
What's after this?
And then after that, what I wanted to do was go directly to the issue of imprint evidence at Bundy. I'm sorry. And the bottom three photographs here that deal with pictures that he took on June 25th were turned over to the prosecution a long time ago. The upper left-hand photo, the bottom photograph over here is one of their pictures. The jeans are jeans that a photograph taken of Goldman's jeans, I believe, in Albany. But they went and took the same photograph, so their own photograph of that. And then the next two pictures are the envelope and the piece of paper, which are their pictures. After that, Your Honor, are just their pictures. That's an imprint on the piece of paper, and a close-up of that, and the imprint on the envelope, and a close-up of that. And then we also have, as I've shown Mr. Goldberg, these boards. We have larger blow-ups of these pictures. This picture this one. This picture is this one. We'll do blow up on the Elmo of their own picture. And then for this other board, we have another larger version of this piece of paper and another blow up of their picture of the Elmo. So basically, we're dealing with their pictures. And
All right, we're in the re- we're in the re-
a long time ago. My alternative, I think we should be glad to do all this under any ruling or anything conceivable to me in terms of discovery issues. But if, and this is the order in which we planned it. If worse comes to worse, we'll just do their pictures imprint evidence at Bundy. But I mean, I see no reason, given these photographs, and that they're their photographs, and they received months ago, in March, they received these photographs of the footprints, the imprint evidence.
How about the notes with regards to those
They received those too.
in March?
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Goldberg?
Well, I don't know. You should talk to them.
I'm not sure, Judge. I have all of that, what we turned over, what was not turned over, as do you. I'm not positive about whether notes about those pictures were turned over, but the pictures were.
All right, Mr. Goldberg?
Anything was done other than just take a picture.
Well, Your Honor, as to the first board, which we've already discussed briefly, Mr. Scheck's proffers to, by the way, may I have permission to stand here?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Scheck's proffer is not specific enough for me to be able to say whether or not we reject. Obviously, a very generic description may be appropriate. It may not get us into any areas where there are discovery violations, but I have a feeling he's probably intending on doing more than that. And it may be difficult for the court to rule on a question-by-question basis because the court hasn't had the opportunity to completely familiarize itself with this issue. As to the charts, we didn't discuss these because I didn't think we were going to get to them yet, but we had some objections to all the charts in terms of the word evidence, because many of the things described, not so much on these charts, but some of the others more particularly, such as with respect to Ron Goldman's genes, may or may not be evidence. I think it's going to be for the jury to decide. Because there are possible impressions on the genes, and we can't even be sure that they are impressions. In many other cases, the probative value of the evidence, if any, is conceitedly non-existent.
All right, well, Mr. Goldberg, let me ask you this,
But
though.
as to the discovery, I wanted to get into that too.
Yes.
All right. All counsel is talking about is when we have the photos. First of all, if you look at the close-up photo of the imprint on the envelope, that photo we received on the 3rd of this month. And what they are doing is they are linking this photo and also the close-up of it in with the rest of this entire board as to this imprint evidence. And we didn't receive any documentation as to the significance of an analysis and interpretation that Dr. Lee rendered. And he's a forensic scientist. He doesn't just look at photos and say, here's a photo. He gives an opinion, he undertakes an evaluation, and he expresses that as an expert to a jury. And that is
All
what
right,
he's
where
going to do.
in this pile of reports that you gave me is the report regarding this particular item?
Well, this particular item, the eyeglass envelope is probably going to be referred to in a number of different piles of documents, because they refer to it more than once. But let me see if I can find the specific one, Your Honor.
Well, I
or
mean,
one
did
of
you
the specific
prepare,
ones.
did you or your law clerks prepare a chart as to each one of these issues and cross-reference it?
Well, the only thing that would be practical for us to do, Your Honor, we'll do as much as we possibly can at the court's direction. Would the court like us to take their charts and for the items of evidence on their charts, begin to cross-reference them?
I can do
Because we can do that. But there are many other items that Dr. Lee may be testifying to that are not on the charts.
Well, my question right now is, can you proceed with this one chart, marked 3 of 3, imprint evidence at Bundy, and the steps in forensic examination. Can you start with at least those two charts today?
Imprint evidence of Bundy?
Yes.
No.
Your Honor.
Because this was one of the key ones that we, and the most important ones that we objected to. We did not find out in discovery that they were claiming there was an imprint on the eyeglass envelope until this month.
Well, I think that Dr. Lee's report indicates it, but more to the point, here's the notes that were turned over on March 24th, which describe these imprints found at Bundy by Dr. Lee. So it seems to me that what we're talking about on this source tool are two pictures that they've had since March, notes concerning those pictures that they've had since March, with little diagrams of the pattern, if the court sees. Their own picture from June 13th, a picture of the jeans which they saw themselves and they've had in their possession for all this time. And when we took a picture of it, their people were taking a picture of it. And then it's their own, everything else is their own pictures here. And it seems to me that what Mr. Goldberg is saying is that they have an opportunity to have their own reconstruction experts, and they've had them, look at the same photographs, do close-ups, look at the same imprint evidence, and draw their own conclusions. Basically, this is Dr. Lee's interpretation of scientific facts. He's issued a report about it. All these raw materials and the notes have been all available.
This is the point, Your Honor, just to drive it home. We had a witness by the name of William Blasier testify on shoe prints. If the court recalls his testimony, he really didn't do anything except take all of the crime scene photographs that the defense had access to for months and months and put overlays on them, and then he generated a report regarding his findings. If I stood here and said, well, Judge, I don't need to give them the report from Blasier as to his findings, because they have the same photographs for months. They have the crime scene
All right, Mr. Goldberg, hold on. Mr. Scheck, the report that you've handed me, which appears to be dated 6/25/94, does not include any observations regarding prints on the envelope that I can see here.
It
No,
does.
no, I'm saying that deals with the parallel line imprints on the walkway at Bundy. That was what I was.
No,
referring to.
I'm asking about chart 3 of 3 here, imprints on the envelopes. I'm trying to get something in front of the jury right now is what
I
I'm trying to
understand
do.
that. Well,
Would you help me? Would you tell me what report this is mentioned in?
these,
Yes.
well, it's mentioned certainly in his final report, and these are their pictures. I mean, I'm at a
No.
loss.
Answer my question. Which report mentions the imprints, the finding of imprints on these two items on your board 3 of 3? Just tell me which report.
It's in Dr. Lee's final report. And also.
Which is dated what date? I don't think I
July
have,
15th.
all right, I don't think I have a copy of that.
Oh.
Mr. Goldberg, did you provide me a copy of that?
No, I didn't. Oh, will I? Yes, I will.
All right. In Dr. Lee's notes, where are the observations regarding these?
In Dr. Lee's report of July 15th,
No, in his notes, not his report, his notes.
there's also observations of the imprint on the envelope on
Opening.
from the Albany inspection on February 17th to 19th. There is also reference to the March 4th, 1995 visit to the LABT crime lab, where we examined the envelope, pictures were taken, and Mr. Matheson was there. In fact, it's Mr. Bodziak, I believe, talks about imprints on the envelopes in his own reports. They were standing there while we took these pictures and made these observations. That's why I'm having trouble with all this. I thought that,
All right, so what's Mr., all right, what is the date on Dr. Lee's final report?
The date on Dr. Lee's final report is
July 15th.
And when was that turned over?
July 17th. But the point is that the notes weren't turned over until the 8th of this month.
Do the notes include an opinion that these are imprints?
I believe that they do. And there may be a sketch, and I'd have to go through. I mean, the point is, Your Honor, this gets us right into the heart of the discovery dispute.
Well, here's the issue, though. Do you have the evidence in front of you? Are you aware of it? Answer is yes. It's the prosecution's evidence and the prosecution's agency that collected it. Are Dr. Lee's opinions that he is going to testify included in his report dated in mid-July that was given to the prosecution in mid-July? Apparently, the answer to that question is yes. That envelope and apparently that piece of paper, my recollection is that nobody bothered to pick it up. So it's off somewhere, who knows where. The issue is then what's fair at this point. If Dr. Lee's observations were and final report was made available to the prosecution in a timely manner, which it appears to be within days of the completion of the report, then I can't find a violation at this point, and I'm not inclined to do that. Preliminarily, I'm going to say that the defense can use this board today with the jury. Let's proceed. Let's have the jury, please. We're joined by all the members of our jury panel. Dr. Henry Lee is on the witness stand undergoing direct examination by Mr. Scheck. Mr. Scheck will continue for another half hour.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Lee, did you have an opportunity to visit the Bundy scene on June 25th?
1994, yes.
And before you went there, were you able to look at some pictures that had been taken of the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
And what is the difference between a crime scene investigation and a crime scene inspection?
A crime scene investigation involves more library-type investigative procedure. Start from the beginning, step by step to the end. Usually involving an original scene or well-protected scene. A crime scene inspection usually for a limited purpose, for certain specific reason, usually not involve a lengthy process.
Were you able to do a crime scene investigation at Bundy?
No.
Why not?
I arrived Bundy scene at 6:40, June 25th, 1994. And my instruction is have to be complete before 7 o'clock, so you only have 20 minutes. In addition, that's not an original crime scene anymore. Already processed, evidence already picked up. So I only can do a limit inspection, which is limit among a specific purpose, not to do a complete reconstruction or a complete investigation.
Was one of your purposes in going to Bundy to look for imprint evidence?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd like to...
Thir- 1337.
Dr. Lee, could you describe for us, please, what an impression is and what an imprint is?
An impression is a three-dimensional representation. An object leave an indentation, have the width, length, and depth. For example, a footprint in snow, a tire track on the beach sand, or a soft soil surface. Another good example, a bullet fired through a gun. The length and groove left an impression on the spent bullet. Those called impression. Imprint is a two-dimensional representation. Only have the length and width, but no depth. For example, footprint left on a hard surface, such as walkway, hardwood floor, piece of paper. We don't have the depth, only have the length and width. A fingerprint left on a surface, a wood surface, that's another imprint. However, if a fingerprint left in a soft material, putty or fresh painted paint, now you have an indentation. A imprint not limited to shoes, foot, can be fingerprint, can be ear print, can be lip. Sometimes people have big nose, can have a nose print. So variety of imprint evidence which a criminals can find at the crime scene. We generally look at the width, length, and depth, determine that's an impression or an imprint.
Now, were you able, at your trip to Bundy on June 25th, to identify certain imprint evidence in the walkway?
Yes, sir.
And could you please come down and point out to the jury where those were? And as you do that, I'd like to mark two other boards, or mini boards we'll call them, the photographs, and I'd like to make make them A and B.
All right.
Your Honor, may I step down?
Yes, you may. Mr. Scheck, which board do you have up there right now?
We have 1537 up there, and 13.
What is the title of the board and what number?
1337. It's entitled Imprint Evidence at Bundy. And
What number? One of three?
it's marked 1 of 3.
One of three.
And I'd like to mark it as 1337A, a blown-up photograph of the photograph that is in the bottom right-hand corner of this exhibit. And I'd like to mark it as 1337B, another blow-up of the middle photograph at the bottom of the board entitled Walkway 62594.
All right, Mr. Scheck, there are no victims' remains on this board, correct?
There are none.
All right, Mr. Bancroft, may I see this, please? All right, counsel, I thought we were going to do another one.
Now, Dr. Lee, could you please describe what it is you found on the walkway on June 25th?
On June 25th, 1994, I arrived at Bundy's. I found quite a few imprint evidence which consistent with footwear imprint. The majority have a specific pattern. Later was identified to be consistent with Bruno Magna type of shoe wear. In addition to those shoe wear evidence, I noticed a different design, a parallel line design type of pattern. Subsequently, I photographically document those with a scale to demonstrate the existence of such imprint evidence.
Are the photographs of 1337A and 1337B blow-ups of the photographs that are on the board 1337?
Yes, sir.
Could you, I guess starting with 1337A and then moving to B and then moving 1337A, identify this parallel line imprint pattern you've described and indicate where it is on the board diagram and on the larger diagram. Photographs, I'm sorry.
In this small picture labeled Walkway, June 25th, 94, the center photograph of a lower set of a picture. This one consistent with a heel print, consistent with a subsequently aging Blasier identified that's a Bruno magnet. Adjacent to that, have a series of parallel lines of another imprint, have same type of appearance. This large photograph, which shows this parallel line design, this Bruno magnet, in addition have some wiggly line pattern. But this parallel line shows a series linear design. It's consistent with a imprint.
Dr. Lee, could you draw a circle around using a blue pen, the imprint, parallel line imprint that you're talking about? Now moving to the photograph on the bottom right of the board and the larger blow-up 1337A, could you describe what's on those photographs and their relationship to the one you've just discussed?
This imprint was found in the middle row of number 10 tile on the walkway, start from the first staircase, you're counting the number 10 tiles. Have consistent with that, again, parallel line design. And this one is more complete. Its pattern resembling to a shoe.
Could you, it's possible to identify here on 1337A the design that, say, is a parallel line imprint pattern that resembles a shoe?
Yes.
Now, turning to the bottom left hand photograph here, what is this?
This is a photograph submitted to me by Attorney Shapiro. It's a photograph took by LAPD photographer. I did not receive a photo log. Tell me which picture from where.
Non-responsive.
Sustained. Next question.
All right. What is the what did you receive a photo log?
No, I did not.
Were you able to tell which pictures were taken in which order?
I cannot make a such determination.
Are you able to place where this photograph comes from in terms of the tiles on the walkway?
Somewhere along that tile.
Would it assist you if I put this picture on the Elmo in terms of being able to identify where the parallel line imprint is on this picture?
Well, it assumes facts, not in evidence.
Sustained. Phrase the question.
Is there a parallel line imprint on the picture taken on June 13th by the Los Angeles Police Department that is consistent with the other parallel line imprints you found on June 25th?
Yes.
Mr. Harris? Yes. Oh, could we mark this print 1337C.
So, Mark, this is the lower left-hand photograph.
That's correct, Your Honor. Thank you. Now, Dr. Lee, I know that we worked a little bit with the point maker. Could you please direct Mr. Harris and show the jury?
This only a small portion area.
Mr. Robertson? Deirdre?
Along this area. I'm not too good in drawing this. This consists of a series of linear formation. It's a very small portion of imprint evidence.
Could you put HLC in the upper left-hand corner and we'll print that out? Mr. Harris will do that, actually.
That's all right? Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that's good.
Okay. You do it again. That's not my initial. HCL.
Oh, who did say HL?
Did I say HLC? My apologies. Now, Dr. Lee, you mentioned before impressions. Are there techniques available for recognizing, preserving, and documenting shoe impressions in soil?
Yes.
Is the area depicted in the middle of this diagram that represents the closed-in area, you're familiar with that?
Yes.
Is the soil in that area the kind of surface where a forensic scientist could recognize, and if it were present, do something to preserve a shoe impression?
Yes.
What would one do?
Generally, we rely two techniques. One, photographic technique with a scale. Second, called casting. Generally, we rely on plaster of Paris, which the stuff we put on the wall. However, we use much better quality. Generally, we prefer the dental stone to make a cast. That's a method commonly used for preserve a three-dimensional impression evidence.
Now, are there techniques that you could have used on June 25th, 1994 to enhance the lines that you saw on the ground?
Yes,
What techniques are those?
we can use chemical technique or instrumental methods. A chemical technique more effective. We can use a tetramethyl benzidine spray or a autolytic spray, which will make a contrast react with the surface, especially contains blood or heme, and a reaction will show up vividly in blue color.
Were you Are those kinds of enhancement procedures potentially destructive of the imprints?
No, it enhanced the imprint evidence.
But did you perform those on that day?
No, I did not.
And why not?
The order is very strict. I only can photograph, measure, and do simple tests. Cannot edit too many chemical or remove the whole walkway.
Like to move now to a third, what would be called 1338?
Yeah, this is which number on the top right?
It's marked imprint evidence of Bundy. Imprint evidence of Bundy 3 of 3.
3 of 3.
And then we're going to do sort of eventually. Now, Dr. Lee, what are the photographs on this particular board?
Or consist of 4 photographs, 4 pictures.
All right, hold on, Mr. Scheck. Are there any victims' remains on this matter?
No.
All right, Mr. Bancroft, may I see this, please? Thank you.
Consists of 4 pictures. The top 2 is original crime scene photograph provided to me by Attorney Shapiro. The lower 2 photographs is a close-up to demonstrate certain area on those material present at the scene, which namely on the left-hand side one is a piece of paper with a irregular shape. Some blood-like stain was observed on it. On the right-hand side is an envelope, approximately 4 inch by 9 inch in size, with a number plate 104. That again have some blood-like material on the envelope. In a close inspection of this envelope and this piece of paper, I discovered their imprint-like pad exists on the paper. Those imprints have similar linear design, and those imprints made in blood. Some of the blood stain covers portion of the imprint, which indicative this imprint has to be placed on this envelope, this corner, before, prior to the blood applied to it.
Yes. Now, Dr. Lee, I'd like to show you how many more minutes? I'd like to mark what would be 1338A. And is this a, what do you recognize that to be?
This is an enlarged photo depict this piece of paper.
And 1338B, what is that?
This is a photograph shows a corner of this envelope.
I think Mr. Harris has them both upside down.
Yes.
In the interest of time, can I just display these quickly to the judge? Now, Dr. Lee, are the parallel line imprint impressions that you have identified on the envelope and the piece of paper, could those have come from a Bruno Magli shoe?
Well, it's an imprint, it's not the impression.
My
That's a
apologies.
two-dimensional pattern. This two-dimensional pattern cannot come from a Bruno Magli shoe.
Could the my apologies, the imprint on the envelope, could that have come from Mr. Goldman's boot?
No,
How do you know that?
I studied the boot, did some measurement, and the saw pattern is completely different than this imprint.
Are the imprints that you found on the piece of paper and the envelope consistent with the parallel line imprints you found on the Bundy walkway on June 25th?
I only can give you a very limited conclusion with this regards to this issue. With the paper, I don't have physically the paper to study.
And why not?
This
Calls
paper,
for speculation.
Sustained.
Was this
Foundation.
paper ever collected by criminalists or police officers at the Los Angeles Police Department?
No personal knowledge, Your Honor.
Sustained. You can ask him if he ever personally observed that piece of evidence in the custody of the LAPD.
Did you ever personally observe that piece of paper in the custody of the Los Angeles Police Department?
no, I did not.
Is there a photograph that you have seen where this piece of paper is depicted?
Yes.
Your Honor, it's already in evidence, it's 1080. Is this one, and I believe this is cropped. So that,
Which photograph are we talking
this
about?
is the photograph of Detective Furman pointing to the envelope with the piece of paper in it, but the body is cropped. This is Defense 1080. We've used this in Mr. Fung's office. Direct your attention to the screen. Do you see the piece of paper here?
Yes. I can see in the middle of the photo, this pile, a piece of paper have similar shape. In this location near that corner. Also, I can see this envelope.
Is 1338A a blow-up of that piece of paper?
Yes.
Was this piece of paper with the parallel line imprint impression present, based on this photograph, at the Bundy crime scene on June 13th?
I did observe on this photograph, their parallel line exists in this location. Again, their blood stain on top of the parallel line make it difficult to see, but do exist. Subsequently, a close-up shows this clearly, they are parallel line in this area.
Dr. Lee, in your opinion, would this piece of paper be an important item to collect in doing processing this crime scene?
I wasn't at the crime scene, so I cannot make an assessment, but if my crime scene, I will collect it.
All right. Is a piece of paper such as this, besides the imprint impressions you're talking about, is it possible to examine both the front and the back of this paper for fingerprints?
Yes,
What about fingerprints in blood? Is that something in your experience that you can detect at a crime scene from a piece of paper such as this?
yes.
How do you do that?
Because blood is red, is visible. you have an imprint, a fingerprint, which commonly we can recognize. If a bloody fingerprint is not vivid enough, we can use an enhancement procedure. Those procedures been published, including my own paper, can enhance bloody fingerprint or footprint.
Your Honor, I think that's the time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our break for the afternoon. And Mr. Harris, can you take that down for me, please? All right, ladies and gentlemen, please remember all my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you, or allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. As far as the jury is concerned, we'll stand in recess until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Dr. Lee, you may step down. You're ordered to return tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. All right, let me see counsel at the sidebar with the court reporter, please. Mr. Goldberg, Mr. Scheck.